In a book titled Come Home to Yourself by Deja Ray, she writes, quote, "If you're willing to walk through the fire and surrender to uncertainty, comma, you will eventually experience all the beauty that awaits you on the other side," end quote. Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Chasing the Dream. I'm your host, Lily Rain. I am a student, podcaster, model, content creator. I do a lot of things. And today's podcast episode is going to be about the hustle and grind and the fact that it pays off one day. And even though I'm still in the process of hustling and grinding, I have some tips that I've learned along the way that have led me to some great successes, but I hope to reach even greater ones and to share my wealth of knowledge with you guys. I haven't been on a creative kick lately until I decided to step back, focus on school, and go to some art museums, art galleries, concerts, and just relax a little bit. I went back home for 2 weeks and then I went back for just a weekend, and it definitely reignited the spark and helped, boost my creativity, see other creatives in their element, and in return, that has inspired me, and I've been on a creative kick as a result of that. So for part one, we're going to talk about hard work versus natural talent. And the $1,000,000 question for this is always, can anybody be an artist? I'd say the answer to that is pretty divided amongst society. Half of society is like, oh, I don't have a creative bone in my body, I can't do it. And the other half would say that you can learn it. And I agree with the part of society that says that you can learn art. I think all talent is a pursued interest. And the reason I could confidently say this is because when I was in high school, they had 4 levels of art classes. They had art 1, 2, 3, and then AP art, which was submitted to the college board. And then you do like an AP test, but with an art portfolio. And I met some people who started in art 1 and were terrible artists. Like, they could barely get through a stick figure. And by the time they got to AP art, they were doing pretty realistic stuff, or they were creating very intricate paintings and doing amazing line work. And it's because art is a pursued interest. You can learn art. I think for some people it is easier to learn art. And I will say, even though I'd say art is a little more natural for me, I wasn't great at it my entire life. Like, I've always been pretty bad with perspective and mixing colors, but that's something I decided to work on more when I was in high school, and now I've been taking some drawing classes in college just to focus on something that I've struggled with. But when it comes to looking at things, I can pretty much draw it as I see it. Just sometimes something might be a little bit off, and some of us are more gifted with that. But, it's the people that pursue it and put in a lot of hours and work are the ones who usually end up more successful than people with natural talent. It's like a gift, because when people assume like, oh, it's a gift, like I'm a natural at this, they don't try as hard. But people who can't do it want to try even harder because they want to get up to that level. They have so much more practice. They wake up every day and do it because they have to, So that's my spiel on that. And I'd also say that we're all born artists, but as we age, our creativity kind of, I wouldn't say fades away, but we kind of don't elaborate on our creative skills and we don't continue to pursue them, so they don't get better. That's why there are adults who can only draw stick figures, because when they were a kid, they learned to draw those stick figures, but they never learned to develop them and to level up their art skills. For the second part of the podcast, I'm going to be talking about some success stories. The first one being from Bryce Vine. He is a pop alternative artist, American singer. He was born in New York, raised in LA, and I went to the second to last show in his Saturday night tour in San Diego. It was such a cute venue. It was at Soma, and I remember driving up, and it was a strip mall. You guys, I kid you not, I thought it was some massive venue, and it was next to a massive venue, and there was literally a gym next door to Soma. It was so funny. And we're like waiting in line, and then this Audi pulls up, and then he's driving, and then his friends are in the back. He's like, "Hey guys, what's up?" Like, while we're all waiting, and we're like, "Oh my god," we didn't even see that coming. He's such a great guy. But I want to talk about this one point in the show that just hit like as someone who's creative and who, wants to reach the point where I feel like I've made it. And he was playing one of his songs that went viral that like put him on the map. And I remember, I'll put the clip on the screen, but he stops singing and then he looks out into the crowd and he's just in awe at the fact that we know all the lyrics, we're singing it for him, and it's like, wow. You know what I mean? Like, I've had this kind of impact. Look at the point that my career has gone to, and I don't it was like an I made it moment. I felt like I was witnessing that because he's just like in awe looking at the audience like, wow, they know the lyrics, they took the words out of my mouth, versus like when he first started performing, he was the one that knew all the lyrics and then people were just discovering him. And this fool was a barback for 8 years in LA. He drove for Lyft, and he always talks about that in interviews. He's like, I don't come from much. It's literally in his Instagram bio. And as someone who's in college and scraping by, that gives me hope. Like I said about seeing your neighbors make it, it feels like watching one of your neighbors make it in LA, like they were in a similar financial situation to you. I work in a restaurant. It sucks, but I'm going to keep doing it until everything takes off. And I just thought he was a great example because he's very humble. He really like put his foot forward with his music career and believed in what he was singing, even though so many labels told him no. So many labels told him it wasn't worth it and that, why they didn't want to sign him, whatnot. But he stuck through it all, found a label that signed him. He's become independent ever since. So I love Bryce Vine. And that moment at the concert just did something to me. And I swear I journaled about it and thought about it for days. And I was like, wow, like one day I'm going to reach this point in my career and it's going to be amazing. Next, I'm going to talk about Australian model Amelia Ross. Now, she was modeling prior to COVID, and 2020 absolutely crushed her, and she wanted to give up on modeling altogether. I will say, you guys, it is such a blunt industry, and I feel like it's so glamorized with the Victoria's Secret fashion shows and all the paparazzi photos of models walking out of workout classes in LA and just living their best life. A lot of models don't make good money, or they make, the same income as someone working a desk job, but society makes it out to be this glamorous job no matter what. Like everyone's making crazy money, and it's not true. And there's so many eating disorders, and everyone's on Ozempic and doing coke in LA, and it's so hard because you're comparing yourself to all these people. And I've been told that I don't have the look for it, the face for it, or, oh, you shouldn't do runway, you should do this. And it's hard. It's a very like blunt appearance based job. People won't want you because of like one tattoo or something, or like the color of your hair, the size of your boobs, like everything. Like it's so tough. And I understand like wanting to quit modeling. Like it is difficult, but I'm still trying to go through with that. But 4 years later, she kept doing it. It was kind of hard during COVID because things were shutting down. They weren't having as many castings. So I'm sure there was, time for her to take a break and like try other things, but still doing modeling in the background. And this past year, she landed a job to be on the cover of Harper's Bazaar. Insane. It's definitely a tough industry, but you never know when your big break is going to be. Not everybody, like this is talking about all industries, not everybody is an overnight success, and it's very unlikely that you will be an overnight success. It takes a lot of years of dedication, of hard work, of showing up every day in order to actually make it. For the third part of the podcast, we're going to be talking about how to stay motivated. These are just some tips I've learned over the years and little motivational quotes that help when you're having a bad day, you're going through creative block, because discipline actually gets you to where you want to be. Showing up every day and putting in the work is what leads to success. However, sometimes a little motivational quote will get you out of bed, when you're having a lazy day, or, you're just sitting around the house and, you could be doing something. They're like, there's nothing stopping you from working on your dreams and pursuing your passions, but you're just moping around. So the first piece of advice is that people who are busy doing big things can't let small things get to them. Trust the process. It's a long and grueling journey to pursue your dreams and to make it, because most people are not overnight successes, like I said earlier. And you have to continue showing up and persevering through roadblocks because you're going to get so many thrown at you along the way. But it's the people that get through them and trust that, this is here because it's testing me. The universe is really questioning, like, do you want this? And if so, you need to be able to handle everything that comes along with it and the problems and the challenges. And when you persevere, that's when you're rewarded with success. The second one I love, but tell a story you love so much that quitting is impossible. You didn't come this far to only come this far. Now, personally for me, I'm self-made and I love meeting people who are self-made because you also feel like you could make it. It's the same thing like I said earlier. It's like watching your neighbor succeed. If your neighbor could do it, why can't you do it? You guys came from the same place, had a similar upbringing. Like that's inspirational. It's not inspirational hearing that someone came from money and they were handed literally everything, like a lot of people in Hollywood, low key. And, I don't compare myself to those people because I know that I was not given the same opportunities as them. And every day I wake up excited to jump out of bed and to tell my story and to share how far I've come and all the things that I plan on doing. You have to love and like just really be like into what you're doing so much that you want to jump out of bed every day. You want to tell people your story. You want to share your passions and you want to continue to grow and for your career to like explode and to go even further. You have to like really fall in love with yourself and the process and what you're doing and just to be infatuated by it. Like some partner, like a honeymoon phase, like something you're just so obsessed with. This is really important, but stop entertaining what is not for you. You're postponing what is meant for you. You only live once, but if you do it right, once is enough. We wake up every day and we have a choice. Now, I've been struggling with this one lately because I just finished the semester, my first full year at San Diego State, and I've been working. So I just wanted a week to relax, before I start some summer classes and hone in on the podcast and content creation. And I knew that like I wanted to have a week to just relax. But then, that week just flew by. And then I was like, it's already May and I'm not close enough to where I want to be. Like I wanted to be further this year and I'm not. So that was definitely a wake up call to me. I went to a coffee shop yesterday, did some planning, made some phone calls, sent some emails. I was like, okay, we're hopping on it this week. I booked this recording session pretty last minute, like 48 hours ago. And normally I'd book these out like a month or two in advance. So I was just like, we're going to do this and we're going to do this now because I'm the type of person and I want to encourage other people to be like this too. You have to do something that makes you want to jump out of bed in the morning, literally leap. Like you are excited to wake up and to go do that. That's how you know you're doing something that you love and that you're truly passionate about. And that's your purpose on this earth. That's what you're meant to wake up and to be excited about all the time. When you continue to entertain something that isn't for you, and let's say you put more time into that than what you actually love, then your dream life is slipping out of your fingers. It's slipping further and further away. You're postponing it. You're literally postponing it by being lazy, by not being disciplined. For example, let's say you work during the day, like 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., and then you do something creative, the rest of the day. And you come back from work and you're like, oh, I'm going to take a nap. That's fine. But then that nap turns into you wake up, you're like, oh, 5 more minutes. And then 5 more minutes turns into 5 hours. And then your day is gone. The sun is down. You didn't have the discipline to just wake up and to go do your other work. Instead, you just slept the day away. And it's really easy for that to turn into a daily thing and for that to happen for a week and for a month. And you're like, oh, it's fine. I'll just, hop on it next month when the new year rolls around. That is not healthy. And truly, there is so much time in this lifetime to pursue what you want because you have decades and decades and decades to build your career. And if you want to do something, you will put time in your schedule and you will have the time of day to do it. And if you do life right and you do what you want to do and you follow your heart and your intuition, your passion, living once is enough. It is more than enough. Not to be a pessimist, but life kind of sucks sometimes. And I'm kind of glad I only got one run. This next one kind of ties back to Bryce Vine's story, but people who make it don't take no for an answer. You have two choices in life, to stay down or to get up. Now, when a bunch of labels told him no, he was like, okay, well, I'm just going to go to another one. He just kept pitching his stuff and, like, I know that my music is worthwhile and that I'm, worth being signed and like making it really big. So I'm just going to keep going. And he did. And he found someone that thought his music was worthwhile. Sometimes you can have really great work, like you can be doing something really great, but the right people aren't seeing it. Like, I always tell people this: when you go to a networking event, if you even get one person's business card could change your life. One person could be the reason like you quit your day job. Truly, truly. But you have to keep going and showing up and, like putting yourself out there. That's what's a part of, the stay down or get up mindset. If you guys have seen La La Land, Mia goes to like these countless auditions because she's trying to become an actress, and she keeps being told no. She'll like walk in there, start, and then 30 seconds and they're like, we don't like you, leave. Or like they don't say anything, they're just like, you're done. And then she heads out. And that happened to her so many times in the movie. And then eventually she was just going through this creative block and frustration, so she goes back home. And then Sebastian, I keep thinking Ryan Gosling, but I'm trying to use the name of the characters in the movie. Sebastian goes to her mom's house where she's at. She drives all the way to Nevada. And he's like, hey, you got this audition from this like really big person in the industry. Like, you have to go. It's tomorrow at 8 a.m. And she's like, no, I'm done. Like, I'm about to give up. I don't even know why you're here. Like, they were fighting at the time. And I just can't do this anymore. I face so much rejection. Like, maybe this dream isn't for me. And she ends up going. He's there supporting her, and it's the cutest thing ever. And that was her big break. But you truly never know. You have to keep showing up. You have to be relentless in order to get to where you want to be in life. In 2022, I watched a lot of Joe Rogan. And it's because I followed people on Instagram and then they ended up on his podcast. Or someone was just interesting and I looked them up on Spotify and he had them on the podcast. So I watched quite a bit of his stuff, and there are some snippets from him and like advice he's given to people, or when people ask him like, how did you get to have the largest, most streamed podcast in the world? These are some things that I took away. Also, him becoming a comedian, these are some things that I took away that I thought were really inspirational. It's just kind of bullet points. Like, I wouldn't say these are like very in-depth I'm going to go into them on. But the first one is like, you have to chase your daydream. And whatever your $1 million idea is, you have to go for it. You can't just have it sit there and collect dust. If you know that, this has potential, it's the what if. Don't be on your deathbed wondering, well, what if I pursue the $1 million idea? You want to just try it and see what happens and know that like, okay, I tried it and I'm glad that I tried it and saw what happened, And maybe that saw what happened was that became your career. You never know. You never know. And this is more so for people who don't have connections. And I say most of us like are self-made, but you need to plan your escape from your day job. Now, not everybody hates their day job. Like, I definitely don't hate mine, but I think a lot of us can say we don't have glamorous day jobs and we'd rather be doing our passions. So when you're planning to escape from somewhere, like, you're doing it as if it's life or death. You're planning like to get out of something. So if you're very meticulous about, the way that you have your routine set up and, okay, I'm going to this event and I have to finish this by this deadline and there are going to be some really important people there. So I have to like wake up every day and like make paintings for this art gallery because this person's going to be there, and you know what I mean? Like, I could sell all my work and like quit my job tomorrow. So it really is like a very tedious process almost, but by planning it, you're doing as if it's life or death, and you will get out if you plan it accordingly. So these last three, I wrote them separately, but they go hand in hand. So the first one is to plan your escape. Now, when you're trying to escape from something, it's like you're drowning. Like, you're literally trying to save your life and you're trying to get out of something, like you're being kidnapped, I don't know, something crazy. That's how it's like pursuing your passions and, getting away from a day job that might be toxic. Or even if you don't love it, don't you want to wake up and do something every day that you love? So it is like planning an escape no matter what from, something that just pays the bills. You have to do it like your life depends on it. If you do something like your life depends on it, you will come so far. Like a lot of people work really hard for their kids. Their kid's life depends on how hard they work. So that's why they're going to show up every day and they're going to put in a lot of work. And it's like, this is for my kid. And even if you don't have a kid, it's like, pursue your passion as if you're going to die if you don't do it. Like you're going to die of like a lack of fulfillment and a lack of happiness and sitting on your deathbed and wondering, well, what if I pursued my passion? But instead I let all the years slip by and look where I'm at now, wondering how great I could have become. And that, my friends, is a wrap on this week's episode of Chasing the Dream. I really hope you enjoyed hearing my favorite part, at least, the motivational quotes and stuff that I've learned over the years that just kept me going, especially if you're going through some kind of creative block, which is always hard, or if you're just having a rough week. Work has been tough, school has been tough. I get it. I just went through finals week, and that was a lot. Took a week off, but we're hopping back onto it. It takes discipline to get to where you want to be, but hearing a quote, or sometimes you'll just see something and it motivates you. Like going to that concert motivated me. Even though I'm not a singer, it motivated me to be creative and to see someone feel like they've made it, to see someone who has made it and living in that moment, knowing, oh my gosh, like that could be me. I need to go home and make art. So yeah, I guess in the coming future, oh my gosh, so this is exciting. I have a lot of fun guests planned from 2 college roommates, 2 best friends from back home, possibly some artist guests. I have more time now that it's summer. I'm taking an online class because I want to graduate kind of on time, but I definitely want to make room for the podcast and editing more TikTok clips. I just want to be able to do more like recent episodes, like something that's going on in the media. I want to record that episode like 3 days later and then post it later that week. Like that's the fastest turnaround time I could have, at least, to book out the studio, to have sessions. But I feel like it would be interesting if we try and delve into different topics, because I have talked about a lot of wellness stuff, but I do also want to make commentary and have fun and, talk about what guests want to talk about as well. It is my podcast, but I also want to hear their perspectives and their stories. And yeah, there's just so much exciting stuff coming and planned for this summer. I'm excited for this podcast to continue growing and for more episodes to come out and the potential for more reach and for it to become viral and, for more eyes to be on it, because I know I'm doing something that's good. I believe in this, and, the production quality is really high. So I really hope this goes somewhere. And I know it's going to go somewhere, but, hopefully it's like soon and not in a decade or 2. So yeah, remember to keep chasing a dream, and I'll see you guys next time.